Hello and welcome to the Big Show. This is Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks, the dive bars of Seattle. We're setting out to document those bars that have a seedy backstory and interesting history behind them. But we're not just talking about these places in the quiet confines of some home studio somewhere. Nope. We are actually visiting these places and recording each episode live on location. In this podcast, we visit the places where bad decisions and future regrets are made, so you don't have to. That's right, we're taking one for the team. We're doing it for you guys. Joining me as always,
sacrifice.
It's the sacrifice we have to make.
Yeah, but we're willing to do it.
Joining me as always is the man, the myth, the legend, our producer, Bob Trombley. How you doing, Bob?
Hey, now I'm good, Brad. Good
Awesome.
to see everybody.
Yeah, it is good to see everybody. And of course, my two co-hosts, Lou and Jeremy. How you two boys doing?
Wait,
We're doing good.
Jeremy. Lou and Jeremy? Really?
What's wrong
We're
with Lou
dumbing
and
it down?
Sweet motherfucking Lou and
Jay Dizzle, yo.
Well, you keep changing your nickname.
Oh, that's true.
It was
Jay?
Jay Dank, I think, was the last one you were going by.
Yeah.
I can't keep track of all this. You guys are Lou and Jeremy to me.
All right.
J Love.
Jay Love.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Exactly. J-Wow.
Jeremy just flew in from Chicago, and
Boy, are my arms.
Literally.
giant.
Like, you literally just got off the plane.
literally, that's his
Came-
commitment. Came from the plane
Right.
to the Central.
Took the light rail,
You guys
came
are
walking in
so
with his
important
luggage.
to me. I cut my trip short.
Well, we feel it, man. We feel the love. Well, we've been on a bit of a hiatus as we were between seasons. So we wrapped up season 1 a couple months ago, and now here we are back with season 2. And as we teased before, we are opening this season by consecutively visiting 4 local bars that each claim to be the oldest drinking establishment in Seattle. Well, which of these 4 bars truly is the oldest? There can only be one. So we're going to spend the next few episodes, we're going to visit each of these places. We're going to go over their respective histories. And we're going to solve who holds the crown as Seattle's oldest bar. Because that's the kind of guys we are.
Also, we're going to reveal the Seattle's oldest bar fly.
We might even do that, too, along the way.
And get them on air.
And get them on our...
Yeah.
Get them on the air. So for this episode, we're here at Central Tavern, which bills itself as the oldest saloon in Seattle. This is our starting point for our journey
Is
here.
it Central Tavern or
No.
is it Central
Right now it's Central Saloon.
Saloon. There
Yeah.
you go.
And we're going to get into, it was the Central Tavern at one point, and then it switched, and we're going to get into that.
Saloon just sounds so more historic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, especially
Dive
here in
deep.
Pioneer Square. So, like much of Pioneer Square, the Central Saloon was born from the ashes of the Great Seattle Fire of 1889. After the historic fire wiped out much of the city's wooden buildings, the city's planners decided to rebuild the area in brick. And in 1892, this place first opened as a restaurant known as the Watson Brothers Famous Restaurant.
Is it Doc Watson?
No, Thomas Watson. The
No
Watson
relation.
Brothers.
No relation?
But I like how they just, right out of the gate, declared themselves to be famous.
Yeah.
The Watson Brothers Famous Restaurant.
I wonder if
Nice.
that's any relation to Emmett Watson.
I don't know. That's a
No
good
relation.
question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So it operated as the Watson Brothers Famous Restaurant for about 9 years, when its owner, Thomas Watson, sold the business to 2 men with the last names Jameson and McFarland. And they renamed the place the Seattle Bar.
Catchy. Yeah.
I know, from
Very creative.
the Watson Brothers Famous Restaurant to the Seattle Bar. Yeah, from flashy to pretty mundane. So it operated under this name, the Seattle Bar, for quite a while, and this was of course during the Gold Rush years. So its main clientele was miners, loggers, sailors, and various outdoorsmen. In 1907, Jameson and McFarland would sell the Seattle Bar and open a second place a block away, known as the J&M
that's
Hotel
what
and
came to mind.
Saloon.
Yeah.
So J&M, Jameson, McFarland.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, and right next to us, it's still known as the J&M Hotel. The sign's still out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Still there,
So that's who it was,
although
Jameson.
temporarily closed, so
Are they temporarily closed?
hopefully we'll reopen at some point.
Yeah. In 1919, it changed ownership again and became the Central Cafe. So this was during Washington State Prohibition, and it was right before the beginning of national prohibition. So it's unknown if they secretly sold booze or not. Probably, the chances are high, but they couldn't do it openly. It operated as the Central Cafe until sometime in the mid-'50s when it became known as the Central Cafe and Tavern. And by the 60s, the cafe part had dropped off, and it was simply known as the Central Tavern. So it's a bit murky when exactly this place switched over from being a restaurant that happened to serve beer and wine to being a bar, right? It's kind of unknown. There's
Gray
no
area.
like specific date where it became a bar.
Like the transition might have happened before the name change.
Yeah,
Because like
yeah.
the owners are just like, well, shit, we're not making money on food. Why
Let's start
bother?
selling just booze. What is known is that it operated as a Central Tavern until it obtained a hard liquor license in 1990, at which point it became the Central Saloon. You were asking about that just a little bit ago, Jeremy. Interestingly, back in 1965, an old moonshine still was found in the basement of the Central
Wow.
here, and apparently they were able to date the still back to 1925. So this leads me to believe that during Prohibition, the Central Cafe, you know, on the outside they were operating as a restaurant, but they were secretly adding fuel to people's drinks
Yeah,
on the
little-
down low.
I'm curious, how did they date it? Was it like signed at the bottom, like
Well,
in
there's
Sharpie
probably like
marker,
a
you know, Zach
manufacturer's-
25 or something?
There's probably a manufacturer's stamp somewhere on it, and they were able
It's a
to.
piece of
I
machinery.
assume.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
usually
they
how
sent
they
it
date
down to the
stuff.
crime lab. They
Carbon
took
dated
some
it.
samples.
Yep.
Yeah.
November 1925.
Yeah, there's probably some label somewhere. By the late 1960s, Pioneer Square had become a very derelict place, and the Central here had also become derelict and fell into a very deep state of neglect and disrepair. So it was like a dive bar in the truest sense back then. Things began changing in 1970, though, when Pioneer Square was declared a National Historic District, which in turn prompted a round of renovations in this whole neighborhood here. Inspired by these preservation efforts, two Boeing engineers, which included a guy named Bobby Foster, decided to buy the Central in 1971 with the express intent of restoring it back to its original luster. And that's what they did. So they completely restored this place, transformed it into a popular watering hole that attracted all sorts of colorful characters. Everyone from important Seattle politicians, including the mayor and his staff, to local eccentrics. One of the most colorful patrons of the newly renovated and popular Central Tavern was a guy by the name of J.J. Freeman, who everyone called Tiny Freeman, as he was 6.5 feet tall and weighed over 300 pounds. He was known as a humongous man with a humongous personality and a humongous beard.
And we actually just pulled up a picture of this.
Yeah, so
And
you want to show these guys a
We-
picture?
Maybe we'll put that on the Instagram or something.
We will.
but
So,
This guy
you know,
totally
He
looks
looks
like a
like
dude you'd want to have a beer with.
Jerry
Exactly.
Garcia.
Totally.
He looks
Yeah.
like Jerry Garcia without the heroin problem.
Yeah, for sure. The guy looks
A
like
Rainier
Yeah.
problem.
Nice.
And he's hanging out with either A, his mother, or B, his wife.
well, Tiny worked on tugboats from Seattle to Alaska, as well as being a truck driver and a train engineer. He was also a DJ for Seattle radio station Crab, that's KRAB 107.7. So before the end,
It was
It was-
KRAB.
K-Rab.
I got crabs at 107.7.
They played bluegrass and jazz
So he's
music.
a train engineer / DJ
And
Slash
truck driver.
tugboat operator.
and tugboat.
That's
yeah.
so
Yeah.
Seattle.
Yeah.
That's
There he
so
is.
Seattle.
That guy you would definitely want to have a beer with.
Yeah.
And I know this doesn't do anything for the listeners, but we will share the picture of him because he looks like a character. Yeah, yeah. So Crab operated out of an old donut shop in the U District, and Freeman was one of the station's most popular DJs. He also played in a Dixieland jazz band. So all of this gives you an idea of who this J.J. Freeman guy
A
was all about.
Renaissance man.
Kind of, yeah. He just did,
Pretty damn eclectic.
Did what he wanted.
Yeah.
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 jack of all
Dabbled
trades.
in a little bit of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was probably good at all of it. You
Yeah.
know?
His oil paintings are fantastic.
Yeah,
Kicks your ass in pool.
probably.
Might just
Darts.
kick your ass.
And he could probably.
Definitely, something about him definitely tells me he'd be really good at darts. Yeah, I could see that. In 1972, Freeman decided to run for U.S. Congress as a Republican and used the Central Tavern as his headquarters.
Oh.
On Election Day, he managed to get 20,000 votes, but ultimately lost against the incumbent challenger, Brock Adams. During his campaign, Freeman had a bunch of Tiny Freeman for Congress shirts made, and they're still like a collector's item. They're really hard to find, but every now and then one pops up
Have
and
you,
it gets top dollar.
Are they on your radar?
I wouldn't buy one necessarily for myself, but I've seen them at estate sales and stuff before, and they go for $100, $200.
Couple hundy. Wow.
Yeah, they're really cool shirts though. So, fast forward about 5 years, 1977. Bobby Foster, one of the guys that owned this place, he was one of the Boeing engineers that renovated this place, decided to organize the area's first Mardi Gras style Fat Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Fat Tuesday is in Pioneer Square. That was a big thing.
So the guy that owned this, he's the guy that kind of organized the first one. And again, this was in
When was that?
1977.
All right.
I guess the first one was just a blast, and it was super popular, and it even featured the first running of the Rainiers.
With those infamous photos.
With infamous photos.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, the running of the Rainiers, it was kind of a spoof of the running of the bulls in Spain. But instead of bulls, it was these life-size Rainiers with legs. And they
So
would
two
run-
guys in a beer costume?
What's
Yeah,
a life-size
bunch of guys-
Rainier?
like a Rainier beer bottle with legs, but imagine it being life-size. So
Yeah,
like,
Life-size,
like what Lou
6
said.
inches tall?
Remember at Targis,
No,
they had a
life-size.
picture of it, and it was...
Life of what? Life of a beer bottle?
It's a
No,
bottle with
it was
legs.
a costume. It was
Yeah.
a beer bottle with legs. So it was like a costume, and guys would get into it.
Like the Irish clam when they got the clam.
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All right.
And then they would run. And the one in Pioneer Square for the first Fat Tuesday, there was about a dozen of these Rainier beers, and they ran through the crowd, and everyone's cheering.
Well, and according to my friend Jerry, he said there was a whole bunch of, they brought just like cases upon cases of beer. And Jerry said, I think he was a senior in high
What? There
school,
was
and
drinking
him and all of his
involved
friends
too?
came down, and then everyone just got loaded. It was just a raucous event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fat Tuesday?
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we
I'm
got
pretty sure they
video
got
too.
footage
All
of this
right.
first running of the
On
Rainiers
YouTube.
here in Pioneer Square, and
Yeah, you
we're
can
watching it right now.
You can check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, you
Post
can watch it on
Yeah, we'll
YouTube.
post some
Yeah,
links.
we'll put a link to that.
Yep.
So you've got a local TV newscaster going, I'm here live at Pioneer Square for the
Yeah.
running of the Rainier Bulls.
And this,
and a bunch of drunk people are pushing me
Look how
over.
fun it would look just being back there.
Oh, man.
There- here
almost got
they
killed.
come.
Almost got killed.
Looks like
Run for your
someone
life.
got shot. Oh, here they
Yeah.
come.
Very good, Jeremy. Yeah.
Nice.
And I think they even made that into a commercial, but that is awesome.
Yeah.
I wish I could have been back there.
And supposedly, like that was like super hot, like well into the 80s, right?
Beer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sadly, in 1979, Bobby Foster died, I believe from cancer, and the Central Tavern once again switched owners, at which point they started hosting live music, and it became a popular live music venue throughout the 1980s into the 90s.
79?
Yeah, in 79 he died, probably
And then
1980 or so. They sold it to
new
new
owner
owners,
kicked
and
off
then
the
they,
music.
and then they started doing live music.
And then Kaja Gugu played here and Adam and the Ants. And
So it served as one of the top night spots for a growing number of local rock bands that all shared a distinctive Seattle sound. These included such bands as Mother Love Bone, Alice in Chains, the Melvins, and Soundgarden. While this music scene was brewing, a local record label known as Sub Pop, that we all know, had formed, and its two co-founders caught a show here at the Central in which they saw a new up-and-coming band known as Nirvana play a really good set. In fact, by the way, Nirvana's first ever Seattle show was played here at the Central.
nice.
Yeah. From this initial meeting, Sub Pop formed a relationship with Nirvana and eventually released the band's first record. So for this reason, the Central has often been bestowed with being the birthplace of grunge. You know, I'm sure it can be argued if it truly is the birthplace of grunge, but it certainly played a key role in its development. In 1992, the Central celebrated its 100th birthday, and Washington State Governor Booth Gardner declared the day as being Central Day, which is kind of cool. The bar actually had its own day.
Nice.
How
is
long
cool.
did that stick around? 'Cause that's pretty cool.
Central, that was just a one-day thing. It was on its birthday in 1992. He declared it as Central
Okay, so it wasn't
Day.
like an annual thing. Like
Oh, so in
Yeah.
this
2092,
day every year.
party
Yeah, we're-
right here
Yeah.
All right.
Now,
for the
interesting.
bicentennial.
So the bar is also known by local ghost hunters as being one of the main hubs of Seattle paranormal activity.
Ooh.
There have been many ghost sightings here over the years.
Wait, what?
Lots of old miners and prostitutes from the gold rush days. And supposedly, there's even grunge ghosts from the 90s. That's what people say.
Really?
Andrew
That
Woods
that
here.
recent.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, imagine a grunge ghost suddenly
I'm
popping.
thinking like ghosts
Well,
are kind of like dive bars.
it-
What
it's-
qualifies as how old does it have to be to be?
I don't know. And would a grunge ghost be as scary as like some old ghost in Victorian clothes,
Is,
or like
Kurt still haunting around the joint?
I don't know. They just grunge ghosts.
It very well could be.
Undescriptive
Well,
grunge
it is
ghosts.
a bar, so a lot of things that are seen after you get hammered here are attributed to being ghosts.
Yeah.
It was probably just his friend trying to pick him up off the floor.
Well, the most famous ghost here.
I saw the ghost of Kurt Cobain last night at the Central. No,
Why
that
did-
was me.
Get your hands off me, Spectre.
Well, the most famous ghosts, as according to some, have been repeated sightings of the ghost of Jimi Hendrix.
No way.
Because he supposedly came here during his early days. This is one of his places he would hang out
A
sometimes.
local haunt, yeah.
He's said to occasionally appear on stage, his transparent silhouette rocking the guitar for a few split seconds before the main act. He's also been spotted in the crowd during busy nights as if to check out the modern day talent.
Wow.
Those who
that
spot
kinda
him
gave me
say
chills.
that he smirks when recognized and vanishes shortly afterwards. But let's break this down for a second. Okay? So Jimi Hendrix died in 1970 in London, over in the UK. So when he died,
Yeah,
why would his ghost come back here to the Central?
Because
You don't know
I mean, the
how-
ghosts can go
Yeah.
anywhere they want, right? They don't have to be. They're not anchored to where they die.
He doesn't have
right?
to get on a fucking boat. He just.
The
But
ghost
why
is
would
gonna
he come
like,
here?
comes
Like he
home.
played
Because
at Woodstock. He played at
He has
all the
place,
top
man. He
He
places.
has
loves
some
this
affinity.
joint,
He
right?
has
Yeah.
some affinity
Woodstock
with this
was a
place.
pop-up. There's nothing there. You want to go stand on some dude's farmland?
Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking this is
Yeah,
his home.
this-
Maybe he'd like to come hang out
You
here.
don't want to come
He
here?
dug this joint.
Yeah.
He
Think
grew up
so?
in the CD. He just
Many
had to come
fond
down the
memories
hill.
here. Keep
So you
coming
guys
back.
think because it's still here as a venue, that's why he comes here, as
No,
opposed to Woodstock?
I think it's because he dug this joint.
Yeah, I'm with Jeremy.
Yeah?
I think he had an
Yeah.
affinity.
Okay,
towards this
let me
place.
So I was hanging
let me
out
ask
here.
you this, Jeremy. Let's say you die right now.
Okay.
You turn into a ghost. You're Jeremy Ghost.
Yep.
You can go anywhere as a ghost. You can go anywhere that you've been in your life. Where would you go? Would you go to some bar that you frequented in your college days, or would you go? Where would you go? Where would
Short
Jeremy
answer,
Ghost go?
Yes.
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
okay.
I would
Well, maybe I stand
haunt. I
corrected.
would haunt the places that had really good memories, like places that I really enjoyed going to,
Yeah.
like some fucking dive bars and some shitty watering holes in college
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah, for sure, totally. I mean, like if you said, if you could go anywhere that you want, wouldn't you want to go places that
That
you knew were cool and you hung out with and had a good
That
time?
you enjoyed.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
hell
Lived
yeah.
the living. Yeah.
Right, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where would you
I'd
go,
come
Brad?
back here.
If you had a choice. If you were Ghost Brad, this is.
Ghost Brad. Yeah, where would Ghost Brad
or
haunt?
Ghost Stash Panda, maybe.
Ghost Stash Panda.
Ghost
Where-
Stash Pen.
Where does the ghost of Stash Panda haunt?
I don't know. Maybe it would be here in Seattle for sure, because this is like my home. So
Yeah.
maybe like the old places I used to visit. Maybe you guys are onto something. Maybe
Me?
I stand corrected.
I'd go to Woodstock.
You would?
Yeah, just
You like
stand in the middle of the
cornfields?
field. They'd be like, "Who is this fucking guy that keeps
Woodstock
popping up?"
'99.
And the other ghosts would be like, even Jimi Hendrix doesn't come here, man. What are you
Yeah,
doing? You're wasting your
exactly.
time.
Harvest it and they will come.
That's right.
Okay, so Jimmy, you can
I heard this
potentially
is a
see-
fun
see
place
Jimmy
to
when you
go.
Come down here.
Who's
Where's
gonna
the
hang out in
concert?
cornfield? Okay. For all of
But
eternity.
but you can only go like wherever you've been in your life. So have you been to Woodstock? Have you been
Nope.
to that? Okay, so that boom.
Oh yeah, so you can't be a ghost tourist.
You never
No,
did the
just can't
brown
do
Yeah,
that.
acid.
where would
It's
you
only-
go?
Yeah, it's only places you actually been.
I'd come here and fucking hang out with Jimmy. That's what
There
I
you
Would
do.
go. Yeah.
What about Bob? What about you, Bob? Where would you go?
I'd probably go to Pacific Beach.
Pacific
Just kind
Beach?
of walk up and down the coast.
So you just keep it nature?
Yeah.
You wouldn't like go to a house or spook a family or anything?
I go to my
No,
ex-girlfriend's
I'd probably
house.
just go out in nature, just on the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a Davy Jones Locker kind of vibe going on there. Like walking
Yeah, I
around
might
the beach
do.
and shit.
Yeah, get like maybe like some like weird, harbor where it comes in, where people used to smuggle
Seaweed
stuff.
draped all
Yeah.
over
That would be
your
cool.
corpse.
Yeah, I'd probably hang out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Scare
I like to
little
hang out
kids.
there in the living, so why wouldn't I like to hang out there when I'm not? You know?
I like it. I like it.
Uh,
So, overall, the history of the Central is a reflection of the city itself, starting with its origins following the Great Seattle Fire of 1889 and up through the late 80s and early 90s when many of the local bands that had had their start here at the Central would transform the world of music. It's a testament to all the socio-economic cycles that Seattle has experienced over the past century, and I suspect that there are still more epic Central stories waiting to be told in the future. So with that, what do you guys think about the history here?
It's deep,
There's
man.
there's a lot to unpack there, man.
There is a lot to
oh my
unpack.
gosh.
There is,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think
120 years? Is that what we're talking?
Yeah.
The sign right there says 1892.
Yeah, 1892, because in 1992 that was their birthday.
That
so,
would make
yeah.
sense then, yeah.
And there's a wall that we're sitting next to. We're at a table at the back, and they've immortalized a lot of the show posters
Yeah,
from
adorned with
All
posters.
the flyers, the band
flyers
Bad
from the
ass
shows that
poster
happened here.
collection.
I moved here in
Yeah, totally
'95. I didn't see any of this shit. But
Well, this
there's like
what
Alice in
well,
Chains,
that movement had already come and gone. that way.
Soundgarden, No
yeah.
Means No, the Melvins,
Yeah.
Mother Love Bone.
Mother Love Bone,
All the legendary Seattle
Butthole
bands.
Surfers,
Yep.
Sonic Youth, Bikini Kill. Like all these people played here. Every time I came here, it was like a blues cover band.
Sure. Sure.
Oh, you just missed Alice in Chains. Sorry.
Yeah.
They just did a great set.
And that was like, well, '95. You'd go see all these people in a stadium.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and
But it is wild to think about Mother Love Bone being on the stage or some band like that, just
Yeah.
being, seeing
So
them here in this
super
venue.
intimate.
Soundgarden going out, testing out some new material up on the stage there.
Yep,
Seeing
yep.
how it flies with the crowd.
yeah, I like it. And what they don't tell you though is like the sound kind of sucks in here. It's not acoustically
It's a small
sound.
place,
It's
yeah.
a
This is- yeah.
long. It's long. It's narrow. It's super loud next to the stage, and at the back you just get like mid ranges bouncing off the thing.
Yeah, but it's a
Different mode buttons on it, like arena, whatever. Put it on like hall, and it's like echoey as fuck. And you're just like, wow, this sounds like shit. It's kind of like this.
I love the topical reference,
That's
Jeremy.
brilliant. That's
Whoa,
exactly.
whoa, whoa! I'm gonna go back to arena.
what it sounds
that hall
like.
didn't sound good. Oh, jazz club. Let's try that. You undersold it, Lou, because we are looking up in awe at a epic collection
Yeah.
of rock bill posters.
No, it's
And-
almost like a Seattle music
These are like,
museum.
It's an homage, yeah.
And you got to love the pricing too. Like, here's a show. Soundgarden was the opening band for Red Cross.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was, if you wanted to buy the tickets in advance, they were $6.50. If you waited to buy them at the door, $8.
Yeah, you can save yourself $1.50.
Well, do you remember bitching like when concert tickets got up in like the $30 range?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, they're fleecing us.
$30.
Now-
It's like $300 range.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, well, can't blame them. You don't make any money off
Didn't you guys see
records,
Paul
so-
McCartney, speaking
Yeah.
of local shows and
Yeah, I
legends?
tried to get Red Cross tickets, and like, oh my god.
Well, you know who's playing tonight at the Paramount is the Bauhaus, the original lineup, the Bauhaus.
shit.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Let's go. What are we doing here?
I know, right?
Can we record live there?
Yeah.
Will they let us do that? I'm
Between
sure,
Bela Lugosi's dead, maybe.
I'm sure it'd be fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'd be fine.
Maybe we could be the opening act, do our podcast from the stage.
I'm sure the
Ladies
goth
and
crowd would
gentlemen.
love us.
Next season. Yeah, next season. We'll work on that one.
Nice.
Well, anyway, so yeah, quite the history here. And Mr. Jeremy, do you want to lead us into our next segment? What you drinking?
Yeah, for sure. So, so when we come to a dive bar, one thing I like to do is go up to the bar, take a couple of little snapshot pictures of what they're serving. Right?
The tap
So get,
line?
like the tap handles, and maybe get a little snap of what kind of liquor they have, if they have hard liquor, or if they're not a hard liquor place, whatever. So just so we can kind of talk about the selection. My camera is dead, so I'm not going to do that. So and I'm not going to post shit on like the Instagram or whatever. But I can still see the bar from where I'm sitting. It's not too crowded in here or whatever. Nice, good selection of beers, right? And when I first popped in, Brad, you had mentioned they had not one, not two, but three Sea Pine beers. And I don't know if you remember last season.
Yep.
You guys can remember, where were we where they had, I think it was 3 Georgetown Brewery
Was it
beers on
Slim's?
tap?
Were they the
I think
ones that had
was.
it?
I think
Yeah,
it was.
Slim's
right?
is
Yeah.
the Georgetown
I was
bar.
going to say just
Yeah.
because
They're a
of,
block
yeah,
away from
exactly.
the brewery.
Yeah, for sure. So local dive bar supporting the local microbrews, which I think is pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
Similar thing we got going on with the Central here. Although, I mean, Sea Pine's not literally a block away like Georgetown is from Slim's, but that's okay. We'll give them a pass. So I love Sea Pine. A quick little story. So what I'm drinking, Sea Pine Citra IPA, which is excellent. Hazy.
Looks super hazy. Yeah.
IPA, which is, we talked about this a couple episodes back. Definitely the popular beer style right now. Hazy IPAs are hot, hot, hot. Although, you mentioned just came back from Chicago. I couldn't find a fucking hazy IPA to save my life in Chicago. I barely found IPAs in Chicago.
Really?
Really?
I would have figured they'd be
What
on
are
the
they drinking
bandwagon.
in Chicago?
Drinking a lot of pales. There's a lot of pale ales. A lot of local stuff, which is cool. I love going, to check out the local shit there. Had like some Lagunitas and stuff like that, which is,
Oh, yeah.
more nationally distributed, but still a local Chicago beer. But not a lot of IPAs, and like almost no hazies and like single hops and the juicies and shit like that. So it seems to be kind of a Northwest phenomenon, which is fine by me because I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
That's good to get a little national perspective on it. I thought
You thought it was just
the
ubiquitous
hazies and the
everywhere?
IPAs were everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks to be more regional.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's actually a good thing that each place has its own preferred beers and that it's not just the same everywhere.
Regional, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
It seems like Chi-Town's still a little on the lager Pilsner style, a little bit on the
Well,
lighter
they're a
beers.
working class
Yeah.
town.
Well, yeah, and that's
Sessions
because
and shit.
it's like a bunch of girl drinkers there where they're like, hey, this IPA is too bitter. It's too hoppy. It's too heavy. Whereas in Seattle, we're like
Way to alienate our
conditioned
audience there,
through.
Lou.
Yeah, fuck
But
'em.
I'm kind of hearing...
We're conditioned to
Yeah.
drink the good
It's all
stuff.
about stretching it out. Yeah,
That's right.
Day
I'm
drinking,
kind of
buddy.
hearing a backlash against IPAs, though, just because they've been everywhere all the time, and that's all you can find.
Well, that's just
a lot of
here, though.
complaints about people going to bars and like, do you serve anything else other than IPAs?
Well, no,
Pendulum
I like
backlash in
IPAs.
Back the other way,
Chicago.
right?
Yeah.
Yep, true.
You serve them one, and they're just going to blow their fucking mind. And they're going to be like, whoa, why have I been drinking this swill when I could have been drinking
Or
this?
more like what you said earlier, like, oh my god, this is disgusting. What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, bitter beer fest.
Some people just don't like IPAs, though, believe it or not. Yeah.
I'm gonna crawl under the table and take a
What do you
nap.
guys think about the Big Ballard IPA? You guys ever get
I
down with
love that. Yeah, Red
Yeah,
Hook,
that's a good
Big
one.
Ballard.
I mean, that's a real IPA. It's an IPA's IPA.
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
like an 8.2, and it's
Yeah.
One of the originals.
Yeah,
One of the
that's right.
originals.
Yeah.
Or Northwest style.
Northwest style, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And other shit that's on tap. So we talked about the Sea Pine. Sea Pine. Quick little story about Sea Pine. I visited them way back in the day, pretty soon after they opened. I don't even remember what year it was, but I do remember I rode my bike there. They were right off
from
the original
Shoreline.
Yeah. The original brewery was right off of
Interlake?
a kind of a cool little cycle path.
Or
there.
interurban?
It winds through some streets and shit there. But rode my bike there with a buddy and didn't even know that Sea Pine was there. Just basically randomly stumbled upon him. Like, oh, hey, brewery, cool. Let's see if they're open. Oh, hey, they're open. Let's
Quench
go grab a
your
beer.
thirst. Yeah.
3 hours later, we were absolutely shit-faced trying to
And
ride
you had
our
to ride
bikes.
your bike back
Oh
to
my
Shoreline?
God. And it was that was the longest fucking ride ever. But I only remember like small little bits of it. But
You made it home in one piece, though.
apparently,
apparently,
apparently I can live to tell the tale. But it was a very fun day. Very fun
Yeah,
day.
for our listeners who aren't from here, Shoreline is 20 minutes on the freeway in a car.
On a good day.
Yeah, so what was it on the bike? What was that, like
A couple hours and a drunk
Yeah,
bike.
3 hours?
Yeah, it was a few hours.
3 hour
Yeah.
tour.
Yeah, it was a few hours. But yeah, me and my buddy were on a big. We were gonna do the Lake Washington loop.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then we hit the brewery and we're like, well, fuck that. Let's just drink and go home. And then it
Veteran.
ended up being
Suddenly
even more
the
fun.
plans changed.
That's right.
Veteran move.
Yeah, it was great. Good time.
Nice.
So just real quick, some other shit that's on tap. They have a Fremont Dark Star, which probably nobody recognizes listening to this podcast episode right now, but for local Seattle folks, an epic, very famous beer, limited release, super expensive, very hard to find. Super limited release. You got to like know somebody to get
What
cakes of
kind
this
of beer
shit,
is that?
Yeah, what kind of
Jeremy?
beer?
It's I
It's a
want
dark,
to say
right?
a stout.
Okay.
I believe, and
Hence.
all about. I think all the Dark Stars are barrel aged stuff
Okay.
from Fremont. Comes out once a year. Great cellaring beer, awesome, good stuff. Great to see it on tap because, like I said, you got to kind of know somebody to get a keg
Yeah.
of that shit. So pretty cool.
Gotta
to see
be
that on tap.
connected.
And we got some staples. I think we got like a Miller.
I see like a
and-
sky kraken over there.
So just like we talked about last season, you can't throw a rock in even the diviest of dive bars, and Seattle's going to have a pretty awesome beer selection.
Yeah.
So God bless America.
Nice. So are you recommending we have a Dark Star for round 2?
Oh,
Or-
hell yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the ABV on that? Do you
About
know?
9%. And
Okay.
it's delicious.
All right.
Maybe we share one since we're driving. But it does sound good. You did kind of sell me on that.
Nice.
And Lou, you pretty much had the same thing, right? Or you just get something different? What'd you
I
drink,
got
man?
the Sea Pine IPA.
Oh.
Yeah, same as
All
you.
right. Yeah, for sure. All right. How about you, Brad, man? What were you drinking?
I had the Sea Pine Pilsner, so we were all
Okay.
rocking Sea Pine,
Brad's
and
starting
I'm
out
ready to
slow.
go for round 2 here.
Yeah, and I think the third Sea Pine on tap was their Hefeweizen, which is
Yep.
also very, very good.
Nice.
Yeah, a little less popular style these days, the Hefeweizens, but still one of my personal favorites. So I might get that.
Yeah.
While we're on what we're drinking, can I give a plug for the thing I texted you folks about the other night, the
Oh.
beer I just found?
Oh, yeah.
Juice Force IPA.
Oh, yeah, New Belgium.
Juice Force. yeah.
Belgium.
Juice Force IPA is a 9.5% IPA, so it's basically a barley wine, and it tastes like a fucking California cooler.
It's like a double IPA.
It's like a double IPA.
Now,
and
when you say it tastes like a California cooler, you mean it just goes down smooth like
no,
one?
I
Or
mean,
that-
In a
it
good
tastes
way?
like a soft drink. I don't
Huh.
know how they do it. Jeremy, you need to look into it and tell me how they're cheating. I don't know how they got this much alcohol. Juice Force IPA.
Packed with Satan.
Voodoo Ranger. And the Voodoo Ranger, the regular IPA, is kind of a blunt force object to deliver alcohol, but
It's okay.
yeah,
It's not amazing, but
nice.
that's an old school graphic style that they've been doing for
that is a
years
cool
and
graphic,
years.
though.
And
Yeah.
he's wearing Jimi Hendrix's.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they do a whole series of the Voodoo Ranger. They came out with the Voodoo Ranger years ago and had the little, skeleton guy as their little mascot or whatever. And then they've done probably dozens of different versions of Voodoo Ranger over the years. I have not tried the Juice Force, though. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
It's weird.
You piqued my curiosity on that.
I'm serious. It's girl drink drunk. What you talked about.
Okay.
Nobody likes IPAs. This one, you could pass it off at a sorority party, and they'd be like,
But is it
"Ooh,
some
this
kind of
stuff's
weird,
good."
like, malt beverage type
Like
thing?
White Claw good?
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
All right.
Okay.
White Claw, Bartles and James, California Cooler,
Now you're showing your age, Lou.
Zima.
Now you're really showing your age, Lou.
Yeah, I don't know how they got that much
Huh.
juicy flavor out of a
All
beer.
right, on that note-
that high octane.
Let's get round 2. Come back for a minute.
All right,
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
let's come back and talk about where we're at.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back after round 2, right?
Yes, we are.
Brad?
What did almost all of us get for round 2?
I think you sold us on the.
Wait, no, that's
Whose is that?
that's Brad's.
Oh my God! Did somebody else drink somebody's beer?
He got the citrus. I got the Dark Star.
There we go.
And
Good old Sea Pine Citra
man.
IPA, which we
you
talked
weren't
about.
kidding,
Damn, that's-
Jeremy. It's delicious.
Fremont Dark Star on draft, which hell yeah.
And tell us,
Yeah.
tell the listeners at home what you got sitting at your house in the cellar.
Well, yeah, the Fremont Dark Star is been it's an annual release from Fremont Brewing, and I don't know when they started Dark Star, but ever since they started releasing, it's a stout, a barrel aged stout, and it's amazing. So when they first released it, people went ape shit, and they only do very limited releases once a year. And I've got a couple of bottles from like 2016. I might even have like a 2015 or something around there, which is noteworthy because it's one of the few beers that ages pretty well. Like you can keep it in a bomber bottle, keep it dark and
I was just
cold
going to
and
ask you about that.
Yeah, they call it cellaring, right? Like
Yeah.
cellaring a beer. There aren't many beers that are good to do that with because generally speaking, you want fresh beer. The fresher the better, right?
Yeah.
Like fresh
Right,
beer
right.
is the way to
And
go.
the yeast gets
right?
a little funky,
But there are
yeah.
a few styles of beers, especially like barrel aged, for example, especially darker beers like a stout, that tend to age pretty well.
Okay.
And you could do what they call bottle conditioning, right? You keep it in the bottle, keep it cold and like dark, whatever. And over time, it just gets better and better. It mellows, the flavors kind of like develop and blossom or whatever. So Dark Star is one of those beers that's kind of notorious for that. It's like, it's like a wine. It's like, oh, you have a Chateau de blah, 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 blah.
Vintage.
A 1980s. Oh, 87 was way better than the 86 and the blah, 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 right? The Dark Star is kind of like that. It's like
Okay,
people really
that's cool.
covet certain years of the Dark Star releases. I don't know, like, I'm not smart enough to know, like, which years, like, oh my God, you have to have a blah, 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 which
Yeah.
year. But I've got a
94.
2016, I've got a 2019, a 2020, and maybe one other year. I can't remember.
And how long are you
Nice.
going to save those for? Have you
Well, that's the thing. It's like,
figured that out yet?
that's the conundrum. It's like, okay, I know, like, the longer I let it sit, the more it mellows and matures, right? But on the other hand, it's fucking good beer. I want to drink it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, I don't know. And then, the joke is like, oh, well, for a special occasion, like Tuesday.
Yeah.
Do you have to
All
keep
right.
it in a fridge?
No. I mean,
Just
you
in,
can.
like, a dark,
There's
cool
nothing wrong
place?
with that, but you really don't have to. There's some beers,
So basically
lighter
just-
beers that age, which is
Yeah.
pretty rare.
Yeah.
Generally, you want to refrigerate those.
Mm-hmm.
But like a darker beer, like the Dark Star, don't necessarily need to refrigerate. And I'm sure some people are going to like freak out and
Right in.
Yeah.
be all pissed off. Or whatever,
wonder
but
if, like,
I
a
don't think you need to refrigerate
Like a
it.
Schmay, or Schmay or whatever those
Yeah,
beers.
Yeah.
If those
Yeah.
could be like cellared just because of the
For
Yeah.
sure, yeah, good
That
point. Like
Belgian
the
ale.
Another dark
Chimay
beer,
Blue,
yeah.
is a good another.
Those are
good
triples,
cellaring beer.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Some of the Belgian styles, absolutely
Yeah.
good for cellaring, for
Word.
sure. Yeah, good example.
Nice. All right, so let's talk about where we're at.
Yeah.
Where are we, Brad?
Where are we again?
We are in Pioneer Square.
We're in Pioneer Square, the place where all the streets are named after, right? It's like Yesler, Denny, Boren,
Maynard.
Doc Maynard, like
First
all of
Avenue.
All
It's
the
an ode-
OGs.
ode to
Mr.
the
First Avenue.
forefathers.
Yeah, ode to the
all of the
forefathers.
OGs. Again, in this episode, we'll just talk about the general vibe and the flavor of Pioneer Square.
Oh, there's a lot of flavor.
There's
Yeah.
mad flavor, and we'll talk
And
about
a lot of
maybe
urine.
how it's
That's part of the flavor, yes.
how it's changed since I first got here in '95. So when I first got here in '95, and I was talking to the locals, I would say, "Hey, where's a fun place to go on a Friday night?" And all the responses were, "Oh, go to Pioneer Square."
Sure.
Same question today. You'd say, "Oh, go to Capitol Hill, go to Belltown, go to Fremont, go to Ballard," before you get
Wallingford, yeah.
to Pioneer Square, right?
You want to have a really good time, of course, you head up north to Shoreline.
That's right. And so now the bars here are more, and I mean, it's kind of sad, but give me a head count, Jeremy. How many people are here?
Oh, 7?
Yeah, like
Including us.
Do you think that's changed since the start of COVID, though? Like, I wonder if COVID had an impact on that.
no, it started a while ago. Now Pioneer Square is more like a happy. Oh,
I
Bob,
was going to.
what do you got?
The reason I butt in because I bet like COVID did come into play because you probably had some people getting off after work who might come populate the bar,
Yeah.
or even just more
Yeah,
of
for sure.
more folks in the neighborhood in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of employment in this neighborhood as well that just ceased for COVID, right? There's
Right.
Came back.
There were like some startups and shit, and there was there's a little bit of tech that's like kind of dabbled in this neighborhood too, and all that stuff was work from home.
But you're
Oh,
right,
totally.
though. It was more lively, like, I would say back in the 90s, early 2000s. Like, it was Friday, Saturday nights, this place was jumping.
Oh, for sure.
There was a lot more businesses down here, too, than there are now. Like, the bookstore,
Elliott Bay.
Elliott Bay, thank you. Elliott Bay used to be down here. Remember the old Elliott
Oh,
Bay? That
for
was like
sure.
such an awesome bookstore. Now they're up on Capitol Hill, but there was more of that back in the day.
That's right.
That's
now it's
changed.
more like a place to come for happy hour for people that work here, or
Yeah.
for like pre-funk for a Mariners
An
or a
event.
Seahawks or
Yeah,
a
that's
Sounders
true.
game.
Yeah.
Like, but back in the 90s, do you guys remember the joint cover charge?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah.
do.
All right.
Yeah,
When
that
do
was
you
a
guys
smoking deal.
When do you guys explain to me the joint cover charge?
Well, it's just as it sounds. Basically, I think it was like $12-15 or whatever it was back then. It wasn't much. And I don't remember if they would give you. Would they give you a wristband?
No,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah, I think
just
they'd
a
give you
purple
a-
stamp.
Was it just a
Yeah,
stamp?
It was a stamp.
That's right. It was just a stamp, and you could go to all the places: the Central, J&M,
Phoenix
Doc
Underground.
Maynard's, the Phoenix Underground.
No, Phoenix Underground is not part of it.
Oh, sorry.
It wasn't.
Nope.
Are you sure?
They were
Yeah.
rolled
I
out.
could have swore.
No,
I-
they weren't. But
Wow.
but yeah, you're right.
But
There were-
it was
really
down
know
here
your
though.
joint cover.
I do know my joint cover charge. So
yeah.
there was like 7 to 10 bars that would participate in it.
And most of them
you'd
had
pay-
live music. You
And
can come in.
yeah, it was all live music in the 90s. This was not a dance club town.
Yeah.
And so all these bars had live bands, and you'd pay
It was the ultimate pub crawl.
10, 12,
Yeah,
20
yeah.
bucks as it went up over the years, but you could get into all these bars for one joint cover.
Yeah.
And it wasn't 7 killer bands. You wouldn't go to one place and see Soundgarden, and one place and see Mother Love Bone, and one place and see Alice
No,
in
that era
Chains.
had already come and gone.
Yeah, that had come and gone, but you would see like one place might just have a couple old timers on acoustic guitars strumming.
Jambalaya,
Yep.
groups like that.
Even like you said, even though it was kind of past the peak, especially for grunge and so forth, you could still like randomly stumble across like an unbilled band that would come and play. Like I remember
it
going
would
to
blow
the
your
OK
mind.
Hotel.
Absolutely, me too.
Not part of the joint cover.
Yeah.
That's right. And random show that popped up was In Living Color.
Nice.
Yeah.
You saw In Living Color at OK Hotel?
Yeah, and it was not on
Or
the bill.
Living
They just
Colour?
like randomly like showed up and started playing. You're like, I just paid $5 cover to go see this fucking epic band.
Nice.
Well, even there was kind of a bunch of post-grunge local bands here that were awesome.
Candlebox.
No. I shouldn't have even used the word grunge. No, like I'm thinking like groups like Sage and Diamond Fist Warney and Sky Crazy Mary.
I
and
saw
a lot of
Critters
them would play
Buggin'.
down here. Critters Buggin' was another band, and there was a great music scene. None of them got
Hammerbox.
nationally
Goodness.
famous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seattle scene, yeah.
Yeah, there was like a good music scene going on here.
Yeah,
back in
there
the day.
you'd see rock bands at the Color Box. Remember the Bohemian? That was usually like all reggae.
Yeah.
And then you had like Central New Orleans, Larry's. Those were all pretty blues
Yeah.
heavy.
Larry's.
Yeah.
And some cover bands. What you said,
Yeah.
Hitters. It's popular, but that's not where the cool kids go. That's a bridge and tunnel club, like
Oh, that's
bridge and tunnel club.
This is like the tourist.
yeah, that's
jargon,
where the tourists come, and that's kind of what it was. And you'd see them if you came down
only
here.
people from Tacoma go to that club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
People from Fife.
Canton, Renton, and Fife and Federal Way that want to come up for the city for a big night on the town.
Go to a really good club.
Didn't know where the cool shit actually was. You come to Pioneer Square, and you could see them. It'd be like a lot of people who just turned 21, women on shaky heels, and guys,
Yeah.
their boyfriends trying
Lots
to
of
look
that.
tough, like a lot of wannabe gangbangers and Jessies that couldn't hold their liquor. So yeah,
Get a little bit of frat boy crowd in there too.
frat boy
Oh,
crowd
yeah.
for she's.
Lots of frat boy from the UW. Yeah.
So I'm going to tell a story, and it's going somewhere. So
Okay,
I
bear
got
with ya.
I got jury duty one time in Seattle, and jury duty in Seattle is kind of weird in that you're on jury duty for a week, and if you get selected to be on a jury trial, you can go home after that case resolves. And so if you're not, though, you go in for jury selection. You don't get picked. You go back out in the lobby. You sit there. And so when I did it, I finally got selected for a jury on Wednesday, right? But before I got to be on that jury panel, I got to hear in jury selection 3 cases. And those 3 cases and my case were all for assault cases in Pioneer Square.
Oh, wow.
I tell you something.
Scary.
Fights that broke out on a Friday or a Saturday night from said boyfriends that were trying to act tough. And here's a tip for all you kids at home. If you're going to get arrested in a bar fight, do it on a Monday. through a Thursday, because if you get arrested on Friday, the
You're-
courts are closed for the weekend.
You're in jail all weekend.
You're in jail all weekend, and then you got to have your, and then they got to look at the cases, decide if they're going to press charges, and then if they do press charges, you got to go to your preliminary trial, your bail hearing. And so my guy, in our case, we found him not guilty, but not before he sat in jail for 5 days.
Plan your bar fights accordingly.
And your
Yeah.
bar fights
Yeah.
accordingly.
Good advice. Good
Yeah.
advice. Yep.
Do you want to hear about my case?
Of course I do.
Of course we do.
Look.
So, 21-year-old guy and girl from Kent go to a club. Guy is dancing with woman who is not his girlfriend. Woman gets mad, starts yelling at him.
In the courtroom, do they have like transcripts of what conspired at the club?
So they told the story.
Okay.
And you got
Okay.
to hear it.
All right.
And so she's screaming at him in the club, and he goes, fuck this. Let's go outside. And they're outside, and they're talking, and she's still screaming at him. And he goes, we're all friends. I was just dancing with her. In fact, I'm tired. I'm going home. So if you want to ride with someone else, do it. If you want to come home with me, I'm leaving now. He pulls out his keys, and she yanks him out of his hand. Fuck you, you're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere until we've talked about this. And he goes, give me my keys back. Goes to grab for them. She's drunk on her shaky heels and pulls back and falls into a car. And a cop
Shit.
down the block sees it. And he sees a guy pushing a
Assaulting.
woman into the car. He comes up, you're going to jail. She's like, no, he didn't push me. I just stumbled. And he's like, yeah, that's what they all say, get in the car.
Oh, wow.
And that was it. Yeah. And then at court, he told his story.
did you
She
throw the
backed it up. That's what I told the cops at the time. It wasn't an assault. I just fell on my shaky heels.
Did you guys throw the
Not
book
guilty.
at him?
No, we let him go.
But he had to spend jail 5 days in jail for this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because Friday.
Just because a cop happened to be at the right place at the right time and saw what happened.
Wrong place at the wrong time.
Wrong
Yeah.
place, yeah. And then Monday, they charged him. Tuesday, he got his preliminary hearing, and they're like, well, no need for bail because your trial's going to be tomorrow morning.
It's kind of scary, though, because that could, I don't want to take this podcast episode in a dark direction or whatever, but that could easily be one of those, like, Me Too moments, right? Like she's defending him, but basically because she's afraid that he's going to get pissed or whatever, and there's actually more to it than what's going on.
Yeah, that's what the
Maybe
cop was thinking.
Maybe the cop was like, okay, I actually see what's going on.
Right?
Yeah, that's a weird
Yeah.
one. That is a weird one.
So, yeah, poor bastard.
Poor
not a fun
bastard.
case to be a jury
No,
on. I gotta say,
doesn't sound like
not a
it.
fun case.
I do remember coming out, like, we deliberated for like 5 minutes. We were all in lockstep. We're like, this is just stupid kid stuff. He's already
Well, if
served.
everybody's saying the same thing, you gotta
Yeah.
go with the narrative, right? It's like,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
What am I going to call them all liars? Yeah.
So we came out of the jury room, and then he's been waiting there on thin ice the whole time, and he looked up at us, and we made eye contact, and I gave him a wink.
No.
And you saw him go,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was cool.
You didn't get fired from jury for that.
Until the bailiff sees you winking at him, and
Wow.
he's like, "Hey,
Yeah,
Lock
it's
him
like,
up.
Don't worry, guy. We got you.
Contempt of court charges
Yeah.
for Lou.
Yeah, exactly. But Pioneer Square, it's also kind of like it's a hard scrabble neighborhood. It's kind of
Yeah,
like the
oh, yeah.
pendulum swings both ways. There's
Yeah.
all these
yeah,
beautiful historic brick buildings, but it's also where all of the missions and
There's a lot of
food
rundown
kitchens
stuff.
and
There's
a lot of
yeah.
beds for homeless people, like
lot
at
of
night. So
Vacancies of businesses that just couldn't make it through the pandemic or even closed down before.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it's
a
definitely
tourist
good.
attraction, but it's also like the place where you want to keep your guard up if you're walking around at
Oh,
night.
dude, the other day, so I got to tell you this week.
Hit me.
So I went into my office job, first time in a couple years, because we had like a special meeting. So I come down, I have to bring my laptop, so I have my backpack, and I take the light rail down, right? Because I don't want to drive and pay for parking, so I take the light rail down. I get off at the Pioneer Square station. The escalators and the stairs are completely sealed off. You can't go up the stairs or anything to get from
How do you
the-
get out of there?
an elevator. This little tiny elevator is the only way to
Only
get up
way
to the
to
street
get up
level.
to the street
yes, Yes.
Ooh, Ooh, scary.
And it takes forever. It's like a really slow elevator just to go up like just one level up to the street. It takes forever.
And I bet that is the cleanest, most sanitary, most
Yeah,
beautiful elevator.
it doesn't
you've
smell
ever
like
been on.
urine at all.
No,
Not at all.
Yeah, beautiful.
So anyway,
elevator.
so I'm like, oh great. So I get off right across the street. You know, all the tents are set up. Everything's shut down, all graffitied and stuff. But it was in the morning. That's when I got there, right? So everyone's like still sleeping, slumbering. So I go to my office. I come back to take the light rail back, and I'm suddenly remembering, like, oh yeah, the stairs are all like blocked off. You got to take the elevator down. So I have my backpack on. So I'm like, oh crap. So I'm pushing the elevator button to take it down, to take the light rail down. I can hear someone from across the street from one of the tents. Hey, backpack, come here. Hey, they're talking to me. I got the backpack on. So I'm like pushing the button. Sweat starts going down my brow. Yeah. Hey, backpack. Hey, backpack.
We got a new name for Stash Panda. He's backpack.
Yeah.
I'm
pretty
pretty
good
sure.
in them jeans, boy.
I'm kind of looking out of the corner of my eyes. I'm pretty sure they start coming for me across the street. I don't, that's what I'm seeing. So I'm just like, elevator, hurry up. Finally opens. I get on, catch light rail back. But it was a nerve-wracking 40 seconds.
Dude, that was me. Just
Well,
trying to
you
get your
called me
attention.
back,
Yeah,
Brad.
I was like,
No,
Brad,
I feel so
Brad.
foolish
And
now.
You
Say
didn't, you didn't hear me, and I'm like, Brad, backpack.
Yeah.
Nothing. I got nothing.
Nice.
Anyway, so yeah, it can be a little hard scrabble here. You got to
Yeah, for sure.
keep your eyes.
Well, kind of nailed where we at, except where we're at. Like, where we're at.
Yeah,
I mean,
Brad told us all about it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to try and probably.
What else you got here,
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Oh, I don't know. The stage is pretty cool. I would absolutely love to see another live band on this tiny-ass little stage. Like you said, the acoustics are kind of questionable or whatever, but that's kind of part of the charm. I think that's cool. Some pretty neat murals up on the wall.
Giant Sir Mix-a-Lot mural right
Giant
next
Sir
to
Mix-a-Lot
us.
mural, and
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is either.
It looks like Tina Turner, but I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's somebody else.
Gina Bell?
Tina Bell? Who's Tina Bell?
She's like the proto grunge. She's the queen of grunge, the Seattle. She died early, so nobody knows how far she would have went.
Huh.
Nice, Tina Bell.
Thank you, Lloyd Gregory, Pioneer
thank
Square
you.
historian.
We need a little more details
Thank you,
on that
Lloyd.
one.
Well, I think now's a good time to wrap things up.
You want to knock it on the head? Before
From
we
the
go, I
Central.
want to give a shout out to the house band. That was Satan's Pilgrims bringing us out from the break and bringing us into the show and bringing us out.
Everybody loves. I get really good feedback about the intro, outro music. They love the music.
Nice.
They got
I think
good
it goes
vibe.
well with their
now the
podcast.
pandemic
I think so,
is
too.
kind of like mellowed out. Satan's Pilgrims are going to kick up their arena tour 2022.
Hell yeah.
Maybe? No? Maybe? I
I'm
don't know.
there.
Stay tuned. Yeah.
Stay
TBD.
tuned. All right.
Well,
All right, Brad, knock us on the head.
Well, thank you for tuning in. Again, this is season 2, and so we're going to continue our quest to find the oldest bar in Seattle. So stay tuned for the next few episodes, and we're going to figure this out. Until then, peace out, and we will see you guys next time.
All right, cheers, guys.
Later, guys.